Many people say that music is a universal language. If that's the case, I would like to use music as a platform to talk about health. My name is Dr. Moshe Lewis, and I'm a full-time practicing physician who loves music and the way it affects our brains, our bodies, and our well-being. I would like to invite you to tune in where we interview musical artists about health matters that are important to them. But the truth is, we'll be discussing topics that affect all of us. From mental health to body image, cancer screening to stroke, our health is truly our greatest asset. So the goal is to open the dialogue on health to embrace topics that we don't always like to talk about in a way that's raw, candid, and lit. Hopefully, these discussions will improve the health of our community. After all, your health matters to me, and if I can make it sound more beautiful, then that's something we should all listen to. Music and medicine, when you hear those words, how do they speak to your heart?
Music and medicine. Music is medicine.
Welcome to Music and Medicine. I'm your host, Dr. Moshe Lewis. Really delighted, so excited today to be joined by music royalty, multi-award winning singer, songwriter, producer, just an overall renaissance man. Welcome, young Christopher Williams.
Thank you. What's up, Doc? Pleasure to meet you, man.
A pleasure. And I know you have some phenomenal music out that we just love. I've already listened to it good enough a few times, and I just fall in love with it every single time. We were just going to take maybe just a little listen.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
Sure.
Everything to do an argument. Swear we started out so innocent, and now you're telling me that I ain't shit. Everything's just all good. I know that you understood what's between us is between us. What about trust? It's not too much to ask of you. You make it so hard to make up when we fuss. I just walk away. Oh yeah, keep my guard up when it's tough, cause we're never on the same page. Already know what it is. I got my issues when I'm with you, girl. Though I come with baggage, that don't matter. I'm just trying to show you action, so I hope my best is good enough. I don't wanna lose your love. No, I ain't never giving up. Giving up on us, cause we can be crazy in love. And if push comes to shove, I hope that's good enough. We look so much better together. I thought we would be here forever. I spent all this time second guessing what we could have been, ain't no telling. Girl, ain't no question. I'd rather die, you're my best friend. I can't have you out here stressing. So can we contest it?
Yeah. So I know you've heard it before, but what makes this project so special and near and dear to your heart?
Well, just long awaited one. It's been 29 years since I've been on the charts. A long hiatus, long wilderness, but a great time that I needed to gather up all the experience that I had, and just to kind of decide, was I still in love with music? I had a health scare 4 years ago in 2021. It's funny too that being here, the three people are on set. It's family in a sense, and nurtured me back from the bottom of my life to being the Renaissance man that you call. So I passed out, went to a coma November 5th, 2021. I stayed in a coma, I think 23 days. Came out 130 pounds, couldn't walk, couldn't talk, obviously couldn't sing.
Right.
And, was basically telling my family that we're going to have to, change the ramps in my house and get things situated.
Right.
And I was going to have to go home to my mom's to rehabilitate. But, I just saw it differently. I had a lot of revelation in the hospital. Like I said, my family was here to kind of just pick me up, change my diapers. And I actually went into a hotel in Calabasas.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I had a doctor, Dr. Annie, and the love of my brother, Alan Payne, who's another brother from another mother.
There we go.
Who I did New Jack City with.
Yeah.
And I just naturally came back, man. And I haven't been on one pill, naturally healed by the Creator's grace. And then one show after another, I just started tackling. Then all the vision and revelation that I had during that period just started coming about. I finished the music. I reunited with a person I put in the business, Vincent Herbert, when he was 14 years old, who went on to do Lady Gaga and everything. Just every seed I sowed just started coming full circle again.
Sure.
And I think that's what woke me up again. And I really fell in love with music. And now, I just feel like every door that kind of closed, I'm going to buy the house to that door.
Right. I love it. Your fans love you so much and are so happy to see this rejuvenation and your comeback and things like that. Talk to us on a personal level, like how it feels to still be able to put down phenomenal music. You put your heart into every performance. I've watched a lot of your concerts.
Thank you. It's just humbling, man. Like, again, I know, like, again, the three people are sitting here to watch me crawl from, my grave in different variations. They're like my sisters and a whole lot of other things all in once. It's humbling, man, because, you can take life for granted and we can get so, caught up in chasing, dreams. And I think when I went through this, it knocked me so far down. And instead of chasing what I wanted, I had to ask him, what's my purpose? And I think music and entertainment became that platform for what really my life was about. And, it's just like, I used to think that coming up in the Bronx, being tough is being able to pick your brother up, not knock your brother down. And, it goes along with all the songs that we made on this record. War and Peace is a battle between good and evil in oneself. And being good enough is something that you really have to deal with on your own so that you could go out and you could treat people exactly the way you feel you should be treated. And if not, it's still no sweat. You just keep moving one step at a time in a positive way, and only good things happen like that.
Absolutely. I'm adopted. I also know you were adopted.
Yes.
I'm also from New York.
Oh, cool.
Talk to us about Brooklyn.
Oh, cool.
And I spent a lot of time up in the Bronx, so there we go. Talk to us about that process, though, sort of really feeling like getting into that new family kind of also gave you a new lease on life when you were obviously much younger.
Yeah, it definitely gave me a new lease on life. And, it gives you some moral checks too. You feel grateful because, you don't at least until I got old, I didn't realize the sacrifice an adult makes in order to take on another life, and not just financially, but shaping the child and, stuff like that. So my mom and honestly, I lost my dad 5 years ago, Norman Page, and my mom, I would never say they were my adopted parents if it weren't, but outside an interview. But, my mom has been my mom, and I'm fortunate in that way. And, what's funny is, I never told my mom how sick I was. Me and my sister made a decision. My sister kind of controlled everything when I was having all my challenges. And we just decided not to tell my mom because, my mom is 88. She's still going to the gym and driving around, but we thought it would just be too much for her to take on. So we kind of sugarcoated a little bit. So I really needed to make this recovery because she would have been like somebody lied.
Right. Somebody. And you wouldn't want that against your sister.
Yeah.
What was that early moment where music just had you and you knew this was your life's destiny?
I think it was the first time I heard Michael Jackson sing Maria. I was probably, maybe 6 years old, 7 years old, walking in the Eden Walk projects in the Bronx. Right. And I just, I saw the Ed Sullivan show and I'd heard him before, but he wasn't singing a song that really resonated. I think he was impersonating Frank Sinatra, if I'm not mistaken. And then I heard him sing Maria, and I caught the bug, and that was all she wrote. And then I started hearing people like Teddy and Marvin, and I could identify my voice to a record. I remember talking to Johnny Gill about this because we both, being young singers, Johnny actually being an inspiration of mine as well, but him being so young, not really one of my teachers, but I think Johnny Gill was the first kid I saw who had a man's voice. Right. And I was like, okay, it's not weird. It's not awkward. It's just finding like what to do with it. So we came up in a time in music where, teachers like James Ingram, Jeffrey Osborne, Luther Vandross, Teddy Pendergrass, Marvin Gaye, Barry White, Al Green, Curtis Mayfield. It's such a plethora of kung fu styles and things to glean from. So I was fortunate in that way to grow up in that era because then I was able to find my own voice.
Sure.
And I think one thing that I love more than anything is that when people hear a Christopher Williams record, they either don't know it or they know it's me.
Right. And they usually love it because your music, from going all the way back to Promises. But I want to walk through that because the chance, it seemed like it was a chance circumstance, although no doubt a higher calling on your life to wind up on the Geffen label. How did that all come about? Because it seemed like very strange, to say the least. Not the typical sending in a demo tape.
It's a funny story. Yeah, we used to, I was my son's mom, Stacey Dash, at the time. We used to go to these clubs in New York, Danceteria, the Cat Club. And one night I met Michael Rosenblatt in a club. Stacey had Lisa Bonet, Marissa Tomei, and a lot of her girlfriends, pretty girls. And he walked up to me and said, "Who are you?" Kind of was buying drinks at the bar for everybody. And I asked him who he was, and he said, I signed Madonna. And I said, "I'm the Black Elvis Presley."
Exactly.
And he turned out to be Ed Rosenblatt's son, legendary Geffen,
Yes.
president. And he introduced me to Charlie Minor,
Right.
another icon in the business at the time. And then they flew me to Los Angeles from New York.
Right.
And I never really hit the pavement for a deal. I was fortunate in that way.
Right.
I had a couple of hits with like club labels like Sutra, and big shout to Sal from the Disco Fever. He was trying to sign me, but they were more single deals. And I was looking more for something where I could be, have a whole album and start a career. And Geffen did that for me. Even though they didn't really understand soul music at the time, they were a 5-star label and treated me amazing.
Right.
And my first deal, I remember my first Christmas party in LA. I was with Guns N' Roses, Cher, Don Henley. I smoked weed with Joni Mitchell, and we listened to Chalk Walk in the Park. So I've had an amazing journey, musically. And again, just these breadcrumbs in my life that keep instilling that this is what I'm purposed to do.
Sure.
It's to entertain, but it's not the purpose for my life.
Sure. How did you make that transition from there onto either working with Andre or Uptown?
Well, that was the thing. Geffen was really great to me. It was an amazing deal. It was a very great experience. But he was transitioning. At the time, Geffen, I believe, was selling. They were going through the Warner Universal thing, I believe.
Right.
And he let me go. He called me in the office and he said, we're transitioning out of urban music. And where would you like to go? Would you like to go to MCA? And at the time, I didn't really know the people at MCA. So I was like, you know what? This is an opportunity for me to go back home. So I called Russell Simmons, Andre Harrell, and I was like, I'm kind of a free agent. Burt Bedell, famous Burt Bedell, set up a meeting. And again, I had two choices. It was Virgin. Lenny Kravitz was trying to get me to sign to Gemma Corfield and Sharon Haywood and Richard Branson at the time. Wow. But I wound up wanting to go home.
Sure.
I had my stint in LA for a second. I wanted to go back home to New York, and they were going to let me executive produce the record. So then changes came about, and I really started digging into my entrepreneurial side of Christopher Williams.
Sure.
And at that time, all the guys that recorded on my Changes record, Vincent Herbert, Ike Lee, Conor Griffin, Tony Dofat, Puffy, every one of them, Kenny Green, was all their first stints in the producing.
Right.
And that became a gold record, which we were really not happy with because we really thought we had something. We thought we were going to sell about 3-4 million records, but then was my first business obstacle in music. And I realized what cross-collateralization was and all of these things that affected the 4 artists who were primarily driving Uptown Records, which is Heavy D, Jodeci, Mary J, Christopher Williams, Father MC, 5 artists. Sure. And there were a lot of new young artists that were amazing too. Anthony Hamilton at the time was in the wings. And it was a lot. Uptown was like a baby Motown.
Right.
A lot of great times, a lot of turbulent times.
Right.
Phenomenal music being made, a lot of talented young people all across the board. Sure. So it was a great time to be at Uptown in the 90s. And like I said, looking back in hindsight, I don't regret anything. It was all purpose to be that way. So it would shape me for who I am today.
Sure, absolutely. You used a big word, cross lateralization. Did you have a sense that there just wasn't the kind of budget to put the money behind all of those artists, all of whom, like you said, including yourself, were amazing talents?
Well, I think now in hindsight, I look back at then, I was blaming Andre
Right.
and Mark Siegel, who was my agent at ICM, 2 weeks before taking the presidency at Uptown.
Right.
So those kind of lessons were learned at the time. And, but now looking back, we often speak about Andre, you know, each one of these people who were like spearheading these labels, they were all doing individually the best they could.
Right.
But in this business, it's like swimming upshore.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So whether you were Rap a Lot, Death Row, Solar, even production companies like Jermaine Dupri's, or even me and Vincent had 3 boys from Newark.
Right.
You're swimming offshore. So, you know, you take the best deal and maybe, you know, because there's a pool of lawyers that work together,
Sure.
you're just trying to get to a better situation. And I'd like to take it like that now. But yeah, Andre's deal structure at MCA was not favorable for him and definitely wasn't favorable for any of the artists on the label, because it could be one budget. But if Jodeci's hot, they need a certain amount.
Right.
Mary's hot, they need a certain amount, and it's not there.
Right.
So Chris and Heavy might suffer, or Chris Heavy and Father might suffer.
Sure.
And I think the Changes record took a major hit in that way. But the one thing that I'm always happy about is the respect level for the record always remained. And I was always happy about being the executive producer. And I always say that Andre saw me, even though he couldn't facilitate what I needed. Right. He saw me. He saw a lot of things. I mean, at that time, again, there was a young Puffy doing remixes and doing parties as Eddie F. There were so many talented people coming through there. KG. Right. It was just Hitsville. Sure. Kenny Green from Intro, writing all those hits for Mary J. Blige. Right. Terry Robinson, just a plethora of talent, a lot of names that people know, but a lot of names that were holding the fiber of the company together, and just the culture, all the dancers from New York. Right. So it was just a major movement at that time. We were all recording together. Teddy Riley, Aaron, all of us. We were like brothers and sisters. We were music family. So that was always exciting. And that's a time that'll never be erased. I think those were golden times in the 90s. Sure. And always times I'll treasure, even though the outcome wasn't exactly what I wanted. Right. This is the way it's supposed to be.
Sure. Do you sense that Andre may have had a challenge being pulled in so many different directions to really communicate to you exactly some of the, like you said, pressures that he was under? And I know you guys, we bucked heads a couple of times.
Yeah, no. You know, the funny
you mellowed
thing
out.
Is, Andre was such the party guy. His thing about champagne and bubbles and fabulousness, he was serious about that. So Andre spent a lot of time promoting through partying and having a great time and pushing forward his vision of Uptown Records. And that didn't always mean the best business decisions, but he had the music in everyone's face. And I think just like when Motown needed to break a barrier, he was trying to change a narrative and a barrier, and it did with the music, but not so much with the business. Sure. But it opened up portals for other people to do amazing things in business. Right. So
talk about sort of the breakup and then your next transition from there.
Yeah, so when I found out what was going on, we basically had a clash.
Right. To put it mildly.
Yeah, I'm not really good at clashes.
Sure.
So I broke the dam. Right. And me and Andre were able to, we were able to resolve that after the fact, but at that point, there was no point in moving on. It's like, sometimes in a relationship, you just got to respect what went on good. Right. The season that you were able to give and take from each other, and you elevated, but that season had kind of finished, and I was ready to move back to LA and get away from just the clutter of New York and the label, and just want to find myself again. And I really didn't, to be honest, because at that time, I re-signed with Irving Azoff. I went back to Giant Records with my original manager, and the deal was so huge that I kind of just took a vacation.
Sure. I got it.
Irving put me in the Beverly Hills Hotel. I got fat. Wow. I was eating at Mr. Child's and every fine restaurant.
That'll do it to you.
Yeah, I was eating there and just having fun. I was actually just enjoying life, and I think at that point I kind of fell in love And that was my Not a Perfect Man record. And the way that deal was structured, because it was so huge, Cassandra wanted to do half the record. So I did half the record in Nashville with James Stroud, which was another amazing experience.
Sure.
Because a lot of people don't know James Stroud has probably sold about 500 million country records. And I got a chance to go down there and learn about riding Harleys and cigars and good whiskey. And again, had a good damn time. And James was a plethora of knowledge. I got to hang out with Trisha Yearwood and a lot of really cool artists. And I got to record live. And I had never done that. You know, R&B we track most of the time and then do the backgrounds, leads.
Sure.
But on this half of my Not a Perfect Man record, which was released in '96 on Giant, I got a chance to do live stuff, including working with Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff, doing the duet with Mickey Howard, the remake of I Hope That We Can Better Be Together Soon. So a lot of great breadcrumbs in every situation, and I've chosen at this time, and always did actually, when you're going through it, you want to make the best of it. You play hard, you're trying to reach your apex. But, you know, I'm thankful, man. I had a lot of beautiful things happen. My aunt is Ella Fitzgerald. I've had a great music journey, and I really feel like the best is yet to come.
Sure. Tell us one of the best pieces, or at least an interaction that you had with her, because I know you didn't really try to press on her too much for advice, but what do you feel you took away
when
from
the
that
Yankees beat the Dodgers? My aunt was an avid Dodger fan, and we really, again, my aunt didn't know I made music until a stewardess asked her, did she know my nephew? Could she meet her nephew? And my aunt was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, Christopher Williams. And my aunt was like, how you know my nephew? He's like, he has a record out. And she got back home from wherever she was going that time and called me. I went over to the house. She lived in Beverly Hills. And she's like, why'd you tell me you had a record? And I always told her I just wanted to be aunt and nephew. I never really asked her for any help. But after the ice broke, I started asking her for direction. And, you know, and I started digging into her career and things that she had. And I would just ask her a million questions about Ray Brown Sr. and things that she had gone through. I would pick her and Tony Bennett's brain. He was a really great friend of hers at that juncture of her life. She was older at the time. And we just fought about the Yankees and the Dodgers. And that was really, and we ate a lot. That was really the main two things that we liked to do. And she was just always sweet and super generous to me, but very stern. My aunt had a curfew. That's why no one stayed over her house. And those were really the main things. I think it all came together, unfortunately, with my aunt, how great she was when she passed. Because even remembering her going home services, I got a chance to really be with Nancy Wilson and Stevie Wonder. So there was a real family unity of people who really loved her. And my relationship with those people became super solid and forever. You know, it's funny, I don't see Stevie Wonder a lot, but whenever I do, he's always very generous, and he's always coming up to me. And I have a funny story about him. There was a charismatic character named Eric Von Zipper. And when Dreamin first hit the charts, I was in New Jack City. And we were at the Ringer Royale in New York, and I kind of felt like I had arrived that night, because we walked in the restaurant. Eric's like, I want you to meet Stevie. And Stevie started playing Dreamin and singing it. And I was like, okay, I might be doing something all right. So that was a great story about Stevie Wonder, though.
Sure. You've been so honest and worn everything on your sleeve, honestly, about what you've been through. Not a Perfect Man almost seems like it's part of your autobiography. Where does that comfort level to be able to share the good times, but also the challenges that any artist would face given all this pressure?
Well, oftentimes I feel like, you know, my wounds or the things that I've had challenges with may be for somebody else. And I've always said the measure of a man is not what happens when he's knocked down, but how he gets up, how he responds. Life is a fight. It's a bittersweet, beautiful ride. And based upon how you perceive life, that's how you will live it. Somebody really meant a lot to me. Dr. Dimitri Bradley died. He was a pastor friend of mine in Virginia when I was living there in '06. And he said something to me one night when we were just driving. He said, "Do you realize you'll live where your faith is?" Mm-hmm. And it just resonated with me, and I never forgot that. And I'm just hard to kill. I'm just hard to kill. My hope and my zeal for life is very strong. And, to go through what I went through, and you wake up and your son's there rubbing your feet, your daughter's there, and your kids and your best friends just love on you and bring you back to life. Right. It is very humbling. You know what I mean? Because, I couldn't do anything. And by the grace of God, I was still able to be father, grandfather, provider, right, through it all. So I'm very fortunate. I'm a very fortunate man.
Sure.
And things just got greater at the bottom, rock bottom.
Right.
The increase just started coming, and, I think mentally I was able to receive it. And, since then, in 4 years, I've opened a restaurant, a speakeasy, wow, a tea shop. I developed land in St. Louis through Tranquility Homes. Right. I wrote a movie about my aunt Ella Fitzgerald, and the TV series that we're coming out with in 26, The Book of Akbar, right, which is about Kareem Akbar getting out of federal prison from the movie New Jack City, but actually has nothing to do with New Jack City. Right. This is going to be a mind twister about a man who spends all this time in jail, and he comes home. I'll give you a little bit, which I have on, other interviews. At the end of New Jack City, some tapes were stolen. Mm-hmm. Nino didn't know he was making a deal with the feds. Right. G-Money was making a deal with the Italians. Sure. And that's old school. Right. Kareem made a deal with the cartel in Mexico. Right. He invested in gold and silver. He did his time, stood on his 10 toes. But when he comes home, he's a made man. But what he chooses to do with it is change the perspective of how we see ourselves and how we deal with ourselves as far as opportunistic times to hustle and what we're hustling in and the information that we're receiving, in hopes that this show will give a good against evil dichotomy about how we can come together.
Sure. And do you also sense that that's also autobiographical, because that's also what you've done? You've really kind of dug deep, and like you said, some of it's through experiences that are on the help tip, but you've continued to come back and rise and kind of give back to us, not only the wisdom and things you've learned, but also your music, which we so love and really needed, even to have more, especially today.
Well, I think that's a continuum of what we've learned from great men like Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte, and right, oftentimes the indoctrination that we're taught, we're not led to people like Denmark Vesey, right, and people who need to be noted, so that we can close identify to not only whose we are, right, but who we truly really are. Mm-hmm. And I think that in order to do that, there has to be some kind of inviting way, because to teach and beat over the head, my grandmother's always tell me, you get more with honey than vinegar. Right. So, if you give them something palatable, and then you sneak in these lessons, and then they start to see the evolution of what they see us as, and then it grows into a modern Kemet. Right. And at the same time, this is the first time you're seeing this on television. And it was something that was given to me in those late nights in the hospital by myself, when they were calling me Pancake, and all I could do was flip, and I just had my thoughts. Right. And yeah, man, like I said, one of the most horrible things that ever happened to me, the most horrible thing, turned out to be just what I needed, to really just get up and stop making excuses and just, value time. It's a commodity. No matter how much money you make, you can't buy a vowel back, can't buy a second back. Right. So you got to really value time. And it's a selfish sacrifice, because sometimes I feel like, again, I'm 22, and am I going too hard? Right. Am I ignoring the important things? But I do try to take time out to make sure now that I spend enough time with Christopher III and Corey, my 9-year-old track star, my granddaughter, and just the people who I value in my life. And I make sure that I'm in a position to take care of my village. And that's really, that's just who I am.
Sure. I want to run back to your reference on Teddy Pendergrass, because with every performance, it's so obvious that you put not only so much into it and really pull from the heart, but you also honor some of our legends. Talk to us about sort of getting that passion, that drive, and going out there and killing it every single show.
Yeah, well, Teddy's special, man. I don't think I've ever seen a performer or a singer who I could identify to more. I mean, I love Luther Vandross, love, 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 love Marvin Gaye.
Right.
But I don't think there's ever been, in my mind, him and Billy D. Williams were my dad, a fusion. I never met my real dad, but in my mind, if you put those two guys together, that would have been who my dad would have been. So I've always loved Teddy. Know every lyric to every song he ever made, from Harold Melvin to even the album I didn't really truly like, to be honest. And I can only laugh about it because, again, you know, his greatness and his determination, that those kind of things is funny. The first night I was in the hospital, we used to call it the dirty sniff. And I know she's laughing about it right now. We used to call it the dirty sniff. It was in Inglewood. And
New Jersey.
No, it was in Inglewood, California.
Okay.
They put me in a gang neighborhood. I was in the hospital in Burbank.
Oh my God.
And I didn't want to take the vax shot.
Right.
So they put me in a gang neighborhood hospital, and we called it the dirty sniff. And I just remember at night, it would just be like, it would be the African nurses against the tiger. It was like gang banging going on in the hospital. And it was very challenging. And I remember one night, I believe it was the third night I was there, it felt like deep isolation. And I remember they finally got my television to work. It only had 2 channels, Telemundo and Showtime. And Showtime was showing the life and times of Teddy Pendergrass.
Wow.
And when I saw the accident and realized I was paralyzed and he was paralyzed,
right,
I think I cried so much the bed floated out the room.
Wow.
And that moment was like a revelation. I remember calling a really dear friend of mine, Michelle. She's like my Jamaican mother. She used to work for Frankie Beverly.
Sure.
And I was kind of whining or crying, and I was just really frustrated and upset. And I remember her saying, well, you start over new. And I was like, well, I can't do nothing. And she was like, you sound like a baby. And she was like, what does a baby do before him walk? And I was like, what are you talking about? She was like, him crawl, get down and crawl. But I couldn't crawl.
Right.
But eventually we got to moving around a little bit, and then it was all about taking 25 steps. And like I said, with the support of my friends and just some ingenuity with my family. Like I said, my sister protected a lot of the outside things that would have probably affected my recovery.
Sure.
Because I'm a public person, but I'm really a private person.
Sure.
And that's why I've never exposed my kids to this business. And I made my recovery private. I would peek out and, let people know, but I had some really dear friends that were, around me all the time. And some of my celebrity friends that were real friends.
Right.
And had always been real friends. They're more like family. They were there too. But it's funny. I remember my brother Alan Payne, he didn't want to see me because he knew he knew I was in bad shape. And he finally admitted to me. He did everything. He would do anything for me, but he was like, I don't want to see you like that. Right. So when I finally recovered, we were able to reconvene and have a good conversation. And at that time, he was ironically on tour doing New Jack Live. So I got a chance to go see Alan. And it just started making me feel like life was becoming more normal again.
Sure. You mentioned your father being an amalgamation of 2 amazing people, including Teddy Pendergrass. Who is Christopher Williams? Who do you want people to see as they hear your music in this reemergence?
Judah. I'm the Lion of Judah. My message, what I'm trying to accomplish in this second half of my career is just giving a message of truth and hope and oneness, because I think we've gotten into a society where everybody's looking left and looking right. And they're trying to get likes and they're trying to get algorithms and they're trying to chase the bag. I'm not trying to chase anything other than my purpose. Yeah. And I think I've gotten to a ripe age now where I can settle into who I am. I'm comfortable with it. I know what my mission is. So a lot of times I want to get off track, but I know what my mission is. I have a company called Promised Land, and I just want people to know that I'm always striving to challenge the truth. and to test it with love.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we have these great big words that we've been taught, civilization.
Right.
But when we look at the history of our life, you can say, well, when have I ever seen that?
Good point.
When have I ever seen civilization, a civilized realization?
Right.
So again, there's been some studying and things that I believe, and that's all we can do is put our best foot forward and representative of who we say we are in this life. And I hope that that leaves a legacy. I've always tried to sow into people. I believe that's important. Again, I think that it's a reciprocation. When you give, you receive.
Absolutely.
And that's really who Christopher Williams is.
Sure. Our show is called Music and Medicine, and we're talking a little bit at the beginning. When you hear those words juxtaposed, music and medicine, how do they play on your ears?
Music is medicine, man. I mean, there obviously can be an assimilation to medicine, medical practicing medicine, or the Hippocratic Oath of medicine. But, people, again, one of the things that people don't realize is sound is healing.
Right.
Just sound, just frequencies is healing. That's why when you hear good music and it feels good to you, it lasts a lifetime. You can hear a song and hear it 35 years later, and it takes you back to that beautiful moment when your child was born, or you got married, or you first fell in love,
right,
or the last family reunion when your grandmother or your grandfather, who was that like key person in your life, you remember that time from sound. And just natural sound heals, whether it's heavenly sounds or healing frequencies, they heal. And I think that's what resonates with music most. They go hand in hand. And I think it's the best medicine.
Absolutely.
Other than other natural alternatives.
Right.
Nothing against pharmaceuticals. They help when you need it too. I had some angels in the hospital. But as soon as you can wean off of it,
right, the better.
I would do it.
Right, exactly, the better. And I know you're not on anything now,
no,
which is simply amazing.
Which is a miracle.
A blessing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask just a couple more things I was thinking about as you were talking, just how enjoyable it is to be able to be in your presence when you want to relax and when you're seeking happiness. The show is over and you finally stop, which you're going 24/7, I know. What do you do to just find that peace and find that calm?
Head and foot rubs. And the Laker game, Yankees or the Lakers, and just my family and friends, man. For the most part, my career is so complex, and what I'm trying to achieve is so uncircumstantial. No one would probably feel like the things that and I'll even say they're about to happen, because I'm off to 25 was a great comeback year.
Yeah. But
26 and 27.
Watch out.
Yeah. It's going to be, just for a lot of reasons. We've gotten all our license and reissues back. It's a good time for the people who came out in my window with music. We're getting a lot of our music back. Right. Direct to consumer is flourishing. We're coming up with technology where we can, not X out the record company, but we can find a better balance. Anytime you got somebody from Spotify making $30 million a year and they're worth $300 million and we're getting pennies for our music, it lends the question, why do I need them for my music?
Absolutely.
We worked hard, in the 90s, and we learned from people like Frankie Beverly. Frankie, I don't think Frank had a record deal for like 40 years, and he became our Grateful Dead. Mm-hmm. And now we have the ability to take our fan base and connect it to an algorithm and monetize it. And you can have a direct effect on the fan, whereas no filter from a record company, no filter from, you do some traditional things, but you got to stay in control and in front of what you're trying to present to your fans. And I mean, rock groups have been doing it for years. They still do it. They go around and you do the work, you tour, you visit everything, you affect every person. I even like a saying that Vince was said, please and thank you very much.
Right.
So anybody who remembers you and they want to interview you, or the traditional things still work. And especially for guys from my era, traditional radio still works. Now for younger kids, they don't, they have a whole nother platform, and you go into that too.
Right.
So digital marketing and, I've had to delve into IG and TikTok and all that stuff, but I have younger people who do it for me and help guide me through it. And we're getting ready to, do all, like I said, in 26, we're turning the page into a store. And I want to thank everybody for supporting the page because we're just climbing ridiculously every day. We've been doing, because of the support, like what you guys are giving me right now. I'm humbled that after 36 years, anybody remembers who I am.
Sure. No, it's not just a remembering, it's enjoying the music, hearing real music, and just loving what you're giving us. As we part, what might be some of the songs or music that you listen to or people that you're having an ear for that help you to relax or help you to party?
I have a strange preference of music. I love, when I'm just listening to music, I like jazz.
Sure.
But when I want different moves or whatever, and again, a lot of times people might just say, well, the mumble music. I'm like, what are you talking about? Listen, there are so many talented music is in great hands. I mean, we got Bruno Mars, Andy Pack, Chris Brown, Mario, Giveon.
Yes.
There's new cats that I'm learning about. Raheem Devon.
Yes.
We've got my younger brothers, Genuine and Darnell Jones, and all those guys, Joe and Maxwell from that generation, Anthony Hamilton. And then a little further up, you got me and Johnny and New Edition and Keith Sweat. And not to separate Johnny and New Edition, but the Gerald Levert, the late 80s, early 90s guys. And of course, New Edition was, they spearheaded all of that music coming in and opened up a gateway for bands and singers to come in. And that's really what ushered in the 90s. You had Al B. Sure come out and cause a frenzy, and Bobby Brown was the king. And then I was like, I fit in there somewhere, and we had a lot of fun in the 90s, and we set a precedent. And I think that music still lives on from the beginning of the 90s to the end of the 90s. And it's great to see all of us out thriving and, singing SWV and their resurgence. And more than anything, who inspired me, nobody was checking for Uncle Charlie. No record company could take credit for that. Sure. It took Snoop and R. Kelly and Pharrell and them to see that Charlie still had gas left in that voice, a lot of gas. And once he got healthy and he got loved on and he was able to set his focus on believing, people think that happened overnight. Charlie did a lot of work.
Sure.
I remember seeing him a long time ago on Monique, and he was just coming back and telling his story. It was super inspiring. And honestly, in the back of my head, I wasn't thinking about music then, but I was like, man, I wonder if one day I'll feel like that. So to be here full circle,
right,
and to have a lot of the young guns like Troy Taylor and Rico Love and
right,
Swiss Beats and Sick Pen and Felly, Troy Oliver, and these people gleaning into this War and Peace record.
Sure.
I'm super humble, but they tell me go get
exactly.
it.
Exactly. And we're blessed not only to be in your presence, but to continue to benefit from your music and to have you have that insight, because it helps inspire us that things have changed maybe for a moment in terms of taking a break, slowing down, but now you're back and full in effect, and we're loving it, loving your music, and just loving having you with us. So positive and always teaching, always reaching.
You, man.
Thank you so much, young man.
Thank you, my
Appreciate
brother.
it.
Thank you, Doc.
Absolutely.
One Doc to another.
Exactly.
Right?
Got it.